Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to touch on some respiratory training, on some physiological testing, and on some physiological testing equipment as well. Carlos sent me some really good questions via email, so I thought I would make a little video for the channel, try to feed the new channel in English a little bit more, and talk about those different points. So I'm just going to go through his questions and answer them. It's not going to take very long, but that way it's going to be nice and complete. So, question one, I haven't had the opportunity yet to work with the Breathe Way Better, but no doubt that I'm taking your course to explore this tool. Have you seen differences in VT and FEV1 or ideal VT during exercise after working with this tool? I mean, is the respiratory coordination improved? Not too much information about this available, but it makes a lot of sense to me to work with it. So regarding the Breathe Way Better, I've seen some fantastic results, not necessarily from the quantified spirometry side of things, simply because I haven't had enough people come to me, do a spirometry test, then do the program, and then retest their spirometry with me. So that's the only reason I don't have more data on that. What I have done in the program, though, in terms of to quantify the progress, is I've had people do a very simple step test. I call it the respiratory coordination test version 1, because now there's a version 2, as you will see in a future video that I'm going to make. But anyway, for that version 1, we start at 15 breaths per minute, and we go up 3 by 3 every minute. So 1 minute at 15, 1 minute at 18, 1 minute at 21, etc., up until volitional failure. The idea being to maintain as clean a coordination as possible from a mechanical, breathing, how you breathe standpoint, but also from a volume standpoint. So I advise people to stop the test once they feel like they're losing more than 10% of their maximal volume. Obviously, that's not ideal because it's almost self-judging, but it still gives a good reference point, and it's a test that we do every 2 weeks in the program. I had Emma Tall, a CrossFit Games athlete, on the program recently, and she said working with this tool has been one of the best things for her breathing in general. She's had asthma since she was a kid. She did a lot of swimming in her early sporting career, and she's tried a lot of different breathing methods, and she seemed to say that this was the one that helped her the most so far. So that's one kind of feedback from an elite athlete in that field in regards to that. And again, the little step test in the program helps us quantify the progress week to week or every couple weeks. And the idea is to see an improvement in how far we can push the coordination of breathing, the coordination and the frequency being, in my opinion, a good proxy for intensity. The volume is important. I'm not saying the volume is not. The volume is very important, and this is why I like working with the Breathe Way Better more than other resistance tools that actually decrease volume as you increase resistance. With the Breathe Way, you can keep that maximal excursion, maximal amplitude, maximal volume. So I think it is a very important aspect, and that should be kind of pushed. But again, it's hard to measure directly because with the tool we can't. I am getting my hands on a device which is almost like a T-shirt with a little pod on the back that measures your thoracic excursion, and they're working towards giving absolute values in liters in terms of VT. It definitely gets frequency already, and it's still a prototype from what I understand. But I will be getting that in the coming days, and I'll be testing it with especially with the breathing work, and probably have my athletes wear that shirt on the physiological testing I do as well. Since I have VT measured with the VO2 Master during those tests, I'll be able to correlate the data from the shirt and the data from the mask, and hopefully get to some good metrics when it comes to volume, and then add the volume aspect to the testing with the Breathe Way Better. But again, that's like you said, there's not a lot of information on it. So we're trying to push the boundaries of what can be done and what should be done, maybe in the realm of respiratory training. So that's still in the process. But to go back to the original question, I have not seen significant differences in when it comes to the actual spirometry data regarding respiratory training, simply because I haven't measured enough. That's the limitation that I have on my side with that. That being said, the coordination is significantly improved, and that's the feedback that I get the most from the people, the athletes and coaches doing my program. Is I can manipulate and I can control my breathing better. And I can now use breathing to my advantage when I'm in a stressful situation, when I'm at high intensity, when I need to recover better. And that's the feedback that I get. So from my standpoint, it's evident at that point that this tool and this training is beneficial. Yes, it still has to be validated and scientifically proven, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, from my empirical data and from what I've seen with the 100 plus athletes that I've coached working with this tool, it works. It works, and it makes it makes a significant difference, at least in those athletes' perception and in their training. And if it influences perception, it's good enough for me. We know how well documented perception is, and RPE within training, around training. And if that tool is able to reduce respiratory RPE and global RPE, that's an important metric for me. And that's what I take as kind of the benchmark for the kit, the transfer and the utility of respiratory training. So that was question one. Question two, and I'll put a little image here. In the report, you describe metabolic development as the power moved in the first threshold. Um, Again, I'll show you that on the screen. I always assumed a good metabolic development for those athletes who have deep lactate profiles, with both thresholds being almost the same, both extremely to the right. But in this manner, assuming the power the athlete can move in the first threshold gives a clear idea of how those fiber type 1 and their oxidative capacity are working. Easy idea, but clear to understand. It may be a good manner to classify normal athletes with lactate profiles different from those with the pro athletes. So keep in mind, I work primarily with non-endurance athletes. I work with a lot of fighters. I work with a lot of CrossFitters and other kind of mixed sports. I do work with some endurance athletes, more and more now with cyclists and triathletes and runners, but my main demographic remains CrossFitters. And obviously for them, we're not going to see threshold 1 really close to threshold 2. So in terms of just a base metabolic development that is going to help a CrossFitter or any other sporting athlete recover better, tolerate volume, etc., that first threshold is why I emphasize that aspect of things. But again, depending on who you work with, you might want to emphasize threshold 1 and threshold 2. You might want to look at the relative placement on the intensity scale of threshold 1 relative to threshold 2. I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's going to depend who you're working with and what you're trying to get out of the testing information. And finally, right now, question 3, right now I'm using the Lactate Scout Plus, a tool I bought several years ago when I was a freshman. Is it still a good tool, or maybe I should buy the new Scout 4? I want to make sure the values I'm taking are valid. Thank you, and sorry if I've asked you too much. Professionals like you motivate me to continue learning. Carlos. Thank you, Carlos, for your questions. So regarding the Scout, I haven't used the Scout Plus. I use the Scout 4, and I know they just came out with a Scout Sport, which is more of a rebrand than anything else. As long as you can find the lactate strips for the Lactate Scout Plus, I don't see why you would change. I don't know what the latency time between sampling and result is. I know that I really appreciate with the Lactate Scout 4 the 10-second only latency. So that allows me during a test, if I have that during that 1 minute break, I can take a sample. If I mess it up or if I need to recheck, I can easily take a second sample within the first 30 seconds of the break and not have to wait longer for the result. So I know this talk about different calibration, different tools, and which one is right. I just stick to the one that I have, and I only compare those data to the same tool. So I'm not gonna compare the data from my Lactate Scout 4 to a Lactate Pro, for example, because I know that they're not calibrated exactly the same, and that we can't compare between tools. But that's true on any tool. So I start from the assumption that you can only compare with the same protocol and with the exact same tools. As soon as you change one of those parameters, we can look at the different data, but we cannot necessarily compare them face to face. So I would say if you can use the strips with the one that you have now, just keep using it. If the latency time works for you, it works for me. That's how I would frame it. So here are the questions that Carlos sent me. I hope that my answers were valuable. If you guys have other questions regarding testing in general, please leave me a comment below this video. I am moving all the videos from my French channel to this channel to build it up and to have a dedicated English channel. The more questions you ask me here, the more videos I'll make. So be sure to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.